Hi, this is Andrew from the Big Idea Food Podcast. Thanks for coming. Today we're going to be talking to Nieves, the CEO and co-founder of Novel Farms. Novel Farms is working with cellular agriculture to create some amazing pork products and scaffolding. Some really interesting technology and some interesting discussions around this new way of producing protein. Look forward to the conversation and look forward to your comments. Thank you. Hey Nieves, how are you?
I am good, Andrew. Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to speak to you too. So, Novel Farms. Tell everyone all about Novel Farms and what you guys are doing and why it's amazing.
Oh, yes, gladly. So, Novel Farms is a cell-based meat company that focuses on producing whole cuts of meat, and in particular of premium meat, which means the most exceptional animals there are out there, our edge is that we are able to make whole cuts because we've developed a scaffolding technology that is scalable, affordable, and that is the missing piece in cellular agriculture right now. Such technology does not exist, so that's why we're going for whole cuts.
All right, let's kind of break this down for people who aren't up to speed on whole cuts and the different kind of terminologies and things. Just explain to us a little bit about what you mean by whole cuts and premium meat and so on. So for the people that are not in the space.
Yes, so cellular agriculture is a new industry that's emerging in which we can produce meat by taking a biopsy of an animal and then growing the cells in a bioreactor. In that way, there's no slaughter needed and all the environmental and health benefits for the world, right? So of course we are all working in this industry to create this meat that is going to be beneficial, right? So, but the problem is that when you take a cells and just grow them in liquid solution, then you can make a ground meat, minced meat, because it's only the muscle cells, But however, when you think about a steak, when you are like meat eaters who really like to eat a pork tenderloin or a brisket or those things. So cellular agriculture right now, we are not able to recreate form tissue from an animal. Like that's a whole different story, right? Like in animals, in us, in our body, we have our muscle. There's fat, and there's also a thing called connective tissue. So connective tissue is a structural network of proteins that serve as the scaffold of, as a surface for the muscle cells and the fat cells to grow on. So without that structure, what you have is unstructured meat. You can make meatballs, you can make sausages, etc. But you cannot, without the scaffold, you cannot make a whole cut. So now, in regenerative medicine, and people can make organoids for transplant, etc. So it's possible to create tissue in that particular case. However, the scaffolds that are used there are extremely expensive. Of course, that organ is going to be put in your body, and the purity and everything needs to be very high grade purity. So for cellular agriculture, if we want to use scaffolds or the same scaffolds we know they work, of course it's not possible because you cannot produce a commodity, a McDonald's burger with such scaffolds, right? Because they're extremely expensive. So Novel Farms was born to solve that problem, to enable cellular agriculture, and for us and later on for other companies to to be able to make whole cuts and then really show the world that you can eat ethically. You can eat clean meat that doesn't have these hormones and all this, nasty stuff, the result of growing and slaughtering the animals in factory farming, right? And reducing gas emissions. So but if we don't give the consumer something that is really, really attractive, that is like as good as a pork tenderloin right now from the animal, and even better, like I think to make a switch, the how's it called, when you change something in a company, or when you want to change a behavior, or you want to, even when it's for the better, there's a barrier, right? So we think in Novel Farms that barrier can be surpassed by giving a product that is like they're gonna not being able to say no. And that's the reason why we are going in particular to produce gourmet meats, premium meats, the ones that are really, really highly valuable, expensive, in limited amounts, to kind of like entice the future consumer and really convince them, not just by saying, oh, this is the same meat, but by saying, hey, you now are able to eat this luxurious meat, and this is thanks to cellular agriculture.
Got it. So meat as a category is varied. Obviously, there's many, many different kinds of meat products that people consume. Cell-based is a way of taking the cells of basic, a basic meat, whether it's pork or chicken or beef or whatever, and being able to replicate those cells to the point where you can create meat without needing to slaughter the animal, without needing to have an animal grow in a farmyard or in a factory for months at a time, right? Mm-hmm. The premise here is that because meat is such a varied range of products, cellular agriculture right now is only able to produce unstructured meat. So to your point, meatballs and ground beef and sort of very, very basic meat products. But consumers want variety, different cuts, different thicknesses, traditional meat products. And so although cell-based meat can create that grounded beef and that meatballs and those sorts of things, the cell-based industry needs to evolve so that it ultimately can deliver the full range of products that we have grown up as a species consuming over time, right? So your company is part of that evolution from the ground beef basic cell structure product to the more complex products that consumers are used to consuming in the meat industry. Is that a good summary of what you guys are all about?
Yes, and I would add that since it's an emerging industry, so of course you don't start building a house from the roof. What you do start with the critical, problems that needed to be solved. So most companies started with, okay, first of all, cell-based meat is expensive because of the media needed to grow the cells. So let's fix that problem first. And then what's the second problem? Scaling, so we can produce large quantities. But of course, focusing on scaffolding in the very beginning of this process is kind of like, it's counterproductive because of course, first problems first, right? So we're ahead of the, we know that once of those problems are solved and we're very close to get, price parity, etc., then we will have this perfect structure meat product to jump right in once. So we have to start now because, structuring is scientifically a complex endeavor because, as I said, connective tissue has a lot of different proteins. They have different functions, and it's an intricate matrix, basically. So my co-founder and I happen to be experts in protein chemistry, molecular biology, in addition to tissue culturing. And so that's why we see everything in molecules, we see everything in proteins, and we know our forte is the scaffold, the connective tissue. So yeah, I think we're the best team to tackle that problem, of course. And there are a handful of companies in the whole world that are kind of aiming to solve it.
Sorry, two questions, A and B. What makes it so complex? Why is it, i.e., why is it so difficult? And what gives you the confidence that you guys are going to be able to crack this puzzle?
Well, it makes it so it is complex because of the nature of the proteins that comprise the connective tissue, and that is collagen. So collagen is a very important structural protein that we have in our body and animals' body, and is particularly is a beautiful protein, but it's enormous, is huge. And that means for scientists, it's extremely difficult to purify it full length, like the whole thing. So that is why scaffolds are expensive. So now the scaffolds used in regenerative medicine are, made of animal collagen. So, and then it's a full length. You have the whole thing because you just get it from rest of bones, animals, etc. So we cannot use animal collagen in cellular agriculture because it defeats the whole purpose of slaughter-free products and obtaining slaughter-free products or reducing, factory farming. So making collagen using other methods, like from scratch, is what makes those scaffolds expensive. And why we are sure that we're gonna recreate the texture is because we came out with an idea of how to kind of bypass, not bypass, but we are using a mixture of ingredients that make these scaffolds affordable, and in a way that we can introduce this collagen that is needed in a very efficient way and inexpensive way.
So you guys are doing collagen as well as scaffolding?
Well, our scaffolds contain some collagen, yes.
Got you. Okay, super. So how has it been going? How have you set yourselves up to do this? You've been focused on this now for what, 18 months, 2 years, something along those lines?
Too much.
How old is the company? How old is Novel Farms?
Well, you were the first. Well, Big Idea Ventures was the first investor, and we're gonna be 1 year old in a week.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
And by 1 year old, I mean we incorporated officially in a week because you guys,
gave you the money.
Got us into the program, and we were like, okay, now I guess we should incorporate.
Yeah, somebody's giving us money. We should actually go do this thing.
Yes.
So take us through some of the highlights of the last 12 months minus one week.
Yeah. So, well, it was a roller coaster, especially starting the program. There was so many, good workshop classes, advisors, like very intensive process in which me as a molecular biology scientist, even though I have some background in venture capital and entrepreneurship classes I took at the university, you guys provided a lot of the food industry, right? Distribution, manufacturing, all the aspects. So we started. So it was and then finding a lab, which was extremely difficult because COVID. So that meant that we were able to really produce or confirm our hypothesis in midsummer in July, right? Just when we produce a proof of concept, and then right after that we applied for a patent. So we submitted our provisional patent application by the end of August. And then there was demo day, right? And then it was like all fundraising for our pre-seed. And then in November, we closed our pre-seed to focus specifically in development of the technology, because we have like a number of features that we are adding to the scaffolds to kind of like make it, like even better and achieve the texture, right? Because we prove that the cells attach, the cells grow well on our scaffolds, and they start differentiating. That means forming muscle fibers, right? But now we want really like the density and the texture, right? So we are now focusing on that in the first quarter of this year. And we are going to open the seed round, seed round operations by the fall, around the fall. And the reason for that is that, we have a lot of things in the pipeline that we're kind of finishing, like integrating the scaffolds into the bioreactors, for instance, is one of the projects, and finalizing a number of cell lines. So once we have all tipped up, so then we'll kick off like hardcore fundraising and show the world what we have been up to.
Okay, and you've got a couple of partnerships that you've been working on. Are they top secret still, or and I don't know if you've announced them or not. If they're top secret, we can leave it, and I can ask.
Well, I can say what type of partnership, and the name perhaps not yet. But so basically, one of our flagship products, the very first product we want to work on is meat from Iberian pigs. And Iberian pigs are a very ancient, I would like to say extraordinary pigs. They're particular from the Iberian Peninsula, which is in Spain and Portugal, right? So these pigs are, their lineage traces back to the ancient times, like the caveman times, prehistoric, Neolithic even, and these pigs like interbred with the wild boars, and they have a particular genetics. They make them very special. So we're going to start with these Iberian pigs, and because we want the 100% Iberian pigs bred through centuries, we need to go to the source, Spain. Luckily, I'm Spanish, so that makes it much easier to organize that. So we have partners there who have farms, and they have a large Iberico production. Like they're pretty big in Spain. Those are our partners, and we're very excited to have them, because everything that entails the history of the breeds, the quality of the meats, the tracing. Also, these pigs are special because they're raised in pastures, in oak pastures, and they eat acorns. So of course the diet influences your genetics as well. So these are the most spoiled pigs you could ever think of, and that's what makes their meat extra delicious. So
the premise here is that it's not just take a cell, any old cell, a piece of cow, a piece of pig, and just grow it. The animal protein industry has spent decades and even centuries creating a lineage of great tasting meat by breeding and crossbreeding different animals. So you guys have recognized that, and you've gone back to the best source of pork, arguably, in the world.
Yeah,
and you've convinced the best breeders of that pork to work with you on a cell-based version of that meat. So you've gone and got the best genetics, the best cells, as it were, and you're using that. Now, just to be clear, when you harvest those cells, which sounds all very sort of clinical, harvesting the cells, are these animals slaughtered so that you can capture these cells, or is it one little pig that's getting a little bit of a biopsy and it's then frolicking in the field somewhere? What's the reality of the situation? Question.
Because that is well, so no, of course there's a way to harvest cells that is, you can take an embryo, but of course that is not the option we are choosing, because again, it defeats the whole purpose of cellular agriculture. So basically a biopsy, let's talk it as it is. It's actually a piercing. Like imagine your ear, like when you take a little, like you want to wear earrings and you make a piercing. So that
a little hole in the ear.
So basically, this pig is not gonna be slaughtered. Actually, it's gonna stay with us and grow with us, and it's gonna just wear earrings, So we'll take care of him.
So basically, you're taking a pig that has the genetics of the best pork breeds in the world. You've got one of those pigs. You're going to have a small biopsy of that animal and use the cells from that animal. Does it have a name? This little piglet, or this little pig? And where will it be living once it's contributed a few cells to science?
His name is Don Dimitrio Heyman Mauro Novel, HM. So Dimitrio is his name, and we're gonna donate him to a school farm near my hometown where my nephew can go visit and take care of him. So I'm very excited. I'm gonna meet him very soon, actually, and yeah, it's gonna be a very small pig.
So as far as you're concerned, given that this is your pig, this pig is going to have a very long, happy, fruitful life. It's not it's the horizon is not the next 18 months or whatever is the normal period of time for a pig.
Oh no, he's gonna grow old. Yes, he's gonna die of old age for sure. And
unless he gets out of the pen, in which case he gets run over by a bus or something. But
oh no. Oh, don't say that. No, we're gonna be. Not only he's gonna be happy, he's gonna be so proud that a whole it's gonna feed so many people, and he's still alive, right? So it's like gonna say, see, this is thanks to you, and he's gonna be very proud of himself.
Okay, so you're going to be opening up your fundraising round again in August, September. I think you said the fall, right? August, September.
Yeah, some time about that. Well, right now I'm like meeting investors and see which ones align with our mission, right? Mm-hmm. And but yeah, the kickoff will be once we showcase our pork tenderloin. And then we're able to show you. We like to show rather than just tell. So we that's what is gonna kick off the seed run.
Got it. So you've already achieved a number of milestones to date from the initial funding. You've got proof of concept. You've got cells being grown. You've got some key partnerships in place with some major major producers and distributors of traditional animal protein and so on. What do you hope to raise, and what do you think that will help you accomplish from a company growth milestone perspective?
Yes, definitely. So we're looking at $4 million seed round, and the reason for that is because I don't know if I mentioned already, but scaffolding and bioreactors go hand in hand. One thing that we're doing right now is integrating this scaffolding technology into a bioreactor that needs to be customized for our scaffolds. So we're creating a mini prototype of this bioreactor right now. And yeah, we want to start with those teams, the team for scaffolding, build a bigger team for scaffolding led by my co-founder, Michelle. and then a team that is going to be focused on kind of scaling up this bioreactor. So that's going to be our main two focus for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, so that we can make bigger amounts of meat, etc. And the second product that we want to do as well. So yeah, and of course with Iberian pork, I have to say, even though our first product is going to be, a pork tenderloin, plain. Plain. What I mean is like fresh piece of meat. We also want to save some meat to dry cure, and the reason for that is that because dry cure Iberico hams are like the epitome of luxurious meats, and it's like it's a whole experience that meat eaters, once they try it, they really cannot they love it, and so much so that there's no Iberico easily readily available at the supermarket. You have to really go to particular stores. That people who visit Spain try this Iberico, and then they try to smuggle it into the US, and they get caught. And I even like I have a friend whose father like bought $1,000 leg of Iberico and got caught at customs. So yeah, so that would be like the kind of the very gourmet product, and then we'll have the fresh pork as well.
Got it. So Iberico ham, it's often eaten at Christmas time in Spain. It's part of the family tradition. It's a dry cured product. They have that special leg on the frame that you cut little slices off, and the whole family experiences that kind of cutting and giving it to the family. You guys want to be able to ultimately produce a product that delivers that good a quality product.
Yes.
Post the investment. Now you mentioned $4 million from investors the next round. You mentioned a production capability, bioreactors, etc. Will that $4 million get you to commercial scale, or will that still get you to sort of proof of concept to the point where you can show people that, if we put $10 million or if we put $15 million into this, we're going to be able to produce pork loin and ham on Iberico in large quantities, or is that $4 million going to get you there?
Well, building a plant, even a pilot plant already is, capital cost intensive. So for commercial facility like the one that Memphis Meats is building right now, we need like serious BC or like more money for that. But for a pilot plant, that's precisely what the 4 million could deliver. So what we want is kind of generate more scale from lab bench to a pilot scale. And then
why? So you're going to go from lab to pilot scale with that $4 million investment, which is not commercial scale. You won't be able to produce it in quantities which can be sold as a kind of revenue generating product. Why take that middle step? Is it necessary? Why not go straight to commercial scale? Or is it very much about aligning funding with the technology? Obviously, there's the regulatory piece as well in terms of being able to sell this product commercially. Can you sell this product commercially today, or are you still waiting for the government and the regulatory environment to catch up?
Well, to be honest, okay. First of all, the pilot plan, as I said before, like for a commercial scale, you need over 100 million, or like if you want the price to reach price parity and really grow in large quantities, right? So as far as I know, there are very few companies that are at that point in fundraising, right? So basically, they're going to require the regulatory approval way before us. So in that sense, I haven't, started that process because we are going to be at the second wave of commercial cell-based meat companies.
So the first wave of companies are going to A, need $100 million to get it to commercial scale, and B, they're going to be the folks getting the governments and the regulatory departments around, the FDA and so on, getting those folks to approve.
I mean, we also will start that process, but first we need to create. As I said, we created the technology, and then we're now further developing it to kind of get the texture. So we are in still in the R&D phase, and it's because we're dealing with this new technology we're creating that is, as I said, it's like more complex than just growing the cells in a bioreactor. It's a tissue generating technology. So yeah, while we create this pilot plant, we need to see, the whole cuts, how they're going through the process of, in a larger scale, right? And then once we have that, then of course, then we can expand.
Okay. In terms of the landscape, are there other companies, as far as you're aware, tackling the same either product development or challenges that you guys are tackling, or are there other companies solving related problems and there's some form of cooperation?
Yes, so there are two types. So basically our direct, let's say, competitors, or people who are also working on scaffolding, or not competitors, because there must be, we're just 5, I would say, or maybe less than a dozen, I would say 5 serious companies. Well, serious, what I mean by that is funded, and they started earlier than us. So there's one, the ones we really admire is Aleph Farms in Israel. Mm-hmm. So they're scientists from the Technion University, a team of, 20 or something, and they started in 2017, and they released their steak prototype, I think it was last year, or one prototype 2018, and yet last year a little more advanced. So what I'm saying is that is how complex the endeavor is, right? And then there's in the UK Higher Steaks. They're focused on pork belly and bacon. And then in the US, then there are 2 companies. They are more going for the B2B approach, or 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Then they use techniques that are borrowed from tissue engineering. Right. So in that sense, nanofiber technology, electrospoon technology, and the other one is 3D printing. Right. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how scalable those technologies are compared to ours, but I would bet not as scalable, mostly because, we don't need to use a 3D printer or a nanofiber technology. So we skip that limiting factor that you need that equipment, and those are relying on the speed of the fibers being produced, etc. We don't have to do that. So I'm gonna imagine that we are definitely gonna be more scalable. But yeah, it's 5 of them, and then perhaps a few others. There are more companies that are making scaffolds for tissue engineering. They're kind of like switching to cellular agriculture, but using the same techniques, nanofiber technology and 3D printing. So
I was going to ask you, how is the animal protein or the traditional meat industry kind of responding to what's going on around them with companies like yours? But the fact we've already discussed the partnership that you will be shortly announcing with a very traditional meat company from Spain, that shows that the traditional meat industry is actually, it's probably showing that the traditional meat industry is dividing into 2 parts. The one part are the meat companies who are recognizing that this technology exists, and they should be a part of it one way or another, whether that's in terms of investing or partnering or, working with companies like yours. And I'm guessing there's also, meat companies out there that are putting their head in the sand and pretending that this technology doesn't exist and won't last for very long, and are hoping that it just sort of goes away. In terms of communications and conversations you've had with meat companies, are most of them moving towards the, let's talk and let's figure out how we can be a part of this, or are most of them putting their head in the sand and hoping that this sort of disappears and the technology just doesn't work?
Well, so first of all, the ones I'm talking to are the ones who are interested in cellular agriculture, because they
obviously, yeah.
And in that sense, I can say that we are approached by pretty large number, I would say, from different countries. They're like, they want to know what are we making, and if we want to collaborate, etc. And I have said no to a couple of those already. Like there are number of corporate programs who match startups with companies, and they're and they were interested in what we're doing, and then they want to collaborate and everything. But like in our case, we're early on. We want to first, consolidate and establish our brand, and then afterwards we will consider, partnerships. But for now, we're staying away from that at the moment. And in the case of the Spanish company, of course, it's not that I convinced them. It was like mutual interest, because Iberico pigs are in limited number, and also they're limited by the pastures there that can be raised. And because they anticipate there's going to be a lower number of pigs in the future, and they have not many kids, etc. So they know they will have to come up with something, another source. So yeah, it's a mutual interest, because we wanted the cell lines, and they want to be in the future. So even though they're very traditional, very, very traditional, they have the vision. So I would say the most advanced meat companies are like, look forward, are going to be interested no matter what, like if they want to be included, right? And the other ones that stick their head to the sand are the ones that are going to be lobbying against cellular agriculture, probably. But I haven't talked to anyone yet from that side.
I mean, the reality is the technology works, and you can't stop. You can't just like nuclear fusion. You can't stop it once people know that it exists. You can try and regulate it, you can try and control it, but you can't, try to ignore its existence. It's just not. That's not the solution.
Especially when it has so many benefits for the entire, environment, world, health, well-being, right? So even governments should, start looking into subsidizing, the plants, etc. If it requires, I think the people who are more wary of new technologies and GMOs or things like that, which has nothing to do with cell agriculture, but what I'm saying is, like, it's all about education, right? Like, if you know what something is about, what entails, how this meat is done, and you see that it's actually there's nothing wrong with it, then of course you're going to be okay with it. So I think it's going to be a lot of education from the companies or nonprofits to educate the consumer in that, what we're giving you is not a Frankenstein meat, lab grown, yuck. It's actually very simple. It's like, if you take a tomato, you take a seed out and you plant it, and then you grow a plant, like a tomato plant. It's kind of equivalent process, right? So, and then if you think about, the facilities where this meat is going to be made, they're going to be everything sterile. It's going to be clean. It's not going to be like the slaughterhouses where a lot of diseases can emerge, etc. So many benefits, but people don't know that. So it's our job to educate them before, commercializing is, out there.
So Big Idea Ventures has had a number of conversations with governments, Singapore, China, other places, in terms of cellular agriculture and how it can be useful and used to create the protein necessary as population grows. So you're absolutely right. Governments are taking a really strong interest in this technology. The other thing is, I don't know why, but animal protein companies or traditional meat companies potentially see this as a threat, but those traditional meat companies understand the consumer. They've been working with selling products to the consumer for decades, often. They've got the channels of distribution. They know how to market the product, how to package the product, how to get the product to the end consumer. And they've got that inherent knowledge that's incredibly useful. There's nothing to stop them, producing the protein in this new way, in addition to or instead of the traditional factory farming or farming approach to animal manufacture, and using this technology to be able to manufacture protein and do what they do best, which is understand their consumer, get the product packaged and ready to go, and get it into the channels of distribution and on the shelves. Those traditional meat companies are just as necessary in the cellular agriculture industry as they would be and are obviously in the traditional meat category. So I don't see it as an either or. I see it as an as well as.
Exactly, and I would say that, for instance, it's not just eradicating the whole industry, but maybe just reducing the impact, starting with that, right? Reducing when you industrialize something and get to the point where it's like super saturated with, producing more and more. But if we can, mitigate that demand or that need for such industrial size companies, right? With something that is more sustainable, then it's going to always help the environment and always, save some animals. So I think it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take many years. But yeah, we need to start now.
And I think consumers are cognizant of this. So there'll come a point in time once this is deregulated where consumers will make a conscious decision about, hey, I can get my meat, the meat that I want, the meat that I've grown up loving, in a way that's very sustainable, or I can get it in a way that is traditional but far less sustainable. What am I going to choose? And like it or not, there are going to be consumers who choose cell-based over,
And you know what? Who are those consumers? Gen Z, the young people. Is clear to everyone that the young Gen Z and the generations that come after them, they're already care a lot about sustainability. They're looking for products that are, better for the environment. They know climate change is happening and they are going to live the consequences. So of course, they're way more conscious. Mm-hmm. So I believe that, convincing someone who was, was born in the 50s, then it's a whole different story than convincing someone who already have the mindset of reducing, emissions and having a cleaner food. So I think they're going to be so open to. Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to be very excited about cellular agriculture, in particular, those products that replicate. Whole cut, a steak, and you can eat it, and it's delicious.
So I've got two last questions for you. What help do you need to make Novel Farms successful? How can people listening to this, whoever they are, be helpful to you guys as you scale Novel Farms?
Well, I would say there are two things right now that will be helpful to get from the outside. One is, well, we're starting the process of hiring. As I said, we're going to be focusing on bioreactors. So engineers, we want the best. Come to us, knock at the door, and start interviewing, and then also stem cell scientists and business. So we're going to grow the team this year for sure. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, investors, of course, the ones that without money, innovation does not occur, right? Like money drives innovation because we will have the tools to get our product to what it needs to be, right? So of course, and we want investors who are mission aligned, then not just going for the trend or something. We want someone who believes in a strong scientific team like us, and that trust that we can make this product, right? Like and not just so you need a great team for that, and for that resources and money, of course. So we'll reach out.
All right, so potential employees, people who understand bioreactors, stem cell scientists, etc., and resources in terms of funding, partnerships, corporate investment, that sort of thing. Last question. Where do people find out more information about Novel Farms and about you and your team?
So right now we have Novel Farms on LinkedIn, and you can reach out directly to me on LinkedIn. And also we have a website. There's not much there yet. We're focused, we will do the marketing later on. We're not much focused on those things right now. I think the best way is reach out through LinkedIn directly to me and Novel Farms.
Give us your full name on LinkedIn so that people can find you there, and also give us the domain name for your company so that people can go type that into Mr. or Mrs.
You can
Google.
find us as novelfarms.co. That's our website, and LinkedIn is the same, Novel Farms together, plain our name.
So spell it out if you wouldn't mind, just so they get it right.
Novel Farms, FARMS. And don't ask me to tell like Nevada and because that's America. I don't know. We don't spell like that in Spain because it's just plain M or N.
Okay, so Novel Farms, Novel farms.co, and it's also Novel Farms on LinkedIn. So if you want to support or get involved or get recruited by, or just give a thumbs up to Nieves Martínez, Nieves Martínez, Martinez. Nieves is on LinkedIn. Novel Farms is on LinkedIn.
Nieves, my name, and you said it at novelfarms.co email. So that's also a possibility. But if you Google Novel Farms, we're going to come out for sure. It works.
Awesome. Any last words before we say thank you to you very much for your time today and we head off into the podcasting sunset?
We're very excited to make this product as soon as possible and enter the space and give a delicious meat. So that's all I can say, that we are really excited about it, and that's where we are too. So, and thank you so much for listening.
Nieves, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for listening to the Big Idea Food Podcast. I really appreciate you. Please do subscribe, then you'll get notifications of the next podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please do reach out. We can also be found via bigideaventures.com and through Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those wonderful places. So, enjoyed the conversation today. I hope you did too. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye.